Hey guys, it's Unit 2, Day 3 notes today. We are going to be doing trig with our calculator. So we're going to use our calculator to solve our problems today. So look at the notes inside the green box here. It says things to remember when you're using your graphing calculator. So you want to check the mode. So the mode is this button right here. So you hit mode and you'll see this blinking. You want to check down here if you have the word radian highlighted. You want to arrow over to degree and hit enter because it needs to be in degree mode. So that's the most important thing. And then we'll talk about rounding our answers. And we'll go over 3 as well when we get into our problems. So you have some sample problems right here. Solving triangles means to find all the missing sides and the angles in the triangle. So we're going to use the trig ratios and we're going to use our calculator. So you guys will have this reference point to go back to. You have your notes up at the top here. But we're going to dive right into some sample problems. And then I'm going to keep this just as a reference point so we can flip back and forth in case we need to. So first thing we're going to do is start with some of these problems right here. So we'll start with number 1. It says use your calculator to find the values of these trig functions into one decimal place. So all we're going to do is look for our cosine button, and we're going to put in 58 and hit enter. So we said we're going to round our answer to one decimal place, so we're just going to make that 0.5. And that's all there is to it. So we'll do the same thing for 2. Hit tan, 35.7. We're going to skip secant for right now, and we're going to do sine of 12. And hit enter, and then we have 0.2 here. So those are how we do our sine, cosine, and tangent. Now when we do our secant, cosecant, and cotangent, we need to remember our reciprocals. So if you don't remember, you have it right here for our cosecant and our secant and our tangent, what the reciprocal is. So for example, we're going to look at number 3, and it says the secant of 87. Well, you'll notice there's no secant button on our calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit 1 divided by, and whatever the reciprocal of secant is, so cosine right here, we're going to hit the cosine button and then put in our answer, our degree there. So 1 divided by the cosine of 87, and that's going to give us 19.1. So you have to put 1 divided by and then the reciprocal. So same with cosecant. So cosecant is going to be 1 divided by, and what's the reciprocal of cosecant? Is sine. So we're going to do 1 divided by the sine of 82. And that's going to give us 1.0. And last, tangent. So we'll do 1 divided by the tangent of 50. Oh, I didn't hit divide. 1 divided by the tangent of 50. So there we have 0.8. So not too bad when you get to use your calculator. Those are pretty simple. So these down here are going to be a little bit more complicated. So it says write a basic trigonometry equation to solve for the missing sides x and y and find the length of each missing side to one decimal place. So we're going to start out with labeling everything that we know. So we have B as our angle here, so we're going to label our side over here as our opposite. Our x is going to be our adjacent, and across from our 90 is our hypotenuse. So we labeled our 3 sides. However, notice on this, we are only given one side, and we have 2 different variables. So we're going to use the information that we have on our sine, cosine, and tangent to solve for those. So we're going to do SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to take all of the information that we know and we're going to solve for these. So first thing that it's asking us to do is find the length of the missing sides for both missing sides. So we can choose x or y. So let's start with x. So we're going to say theta, which is our b, 35 degrees. So we have our hypotenuse, which is given, and we're going to solve for our adjacent. So we need something that has a hypotenuse and an adjacent. So if we look up here, we have an adjacent and hypotenuse in our cosine. So we are going to write the cosine of our angle, which is 35, equals, and that's going to be our adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's x over 15. So for this problem to solve, we need to get our x alone. So we're going to multiply both sides by 15. And that's going to cancel out our denominator here. So now we have x equals 15 times the cosine of 35. So we'll put that into our calculator. Cosine of 35 times 15. So we're going to end up with a 12.28. So we're rounding just one place past the decimal point, so 12.3. So we just solved for x, so x is 12.3. So we're going to do the same thing to solve for our y. And I'm going to suggest that you always use the value that's given to you. Even though you just solved for x, there's a chance that you made a mistake. So always go back to what's given to you that you know is true. So now we have our angle again, but we're solving for our hypotenuse and our opposite. So look up here, and we have sine, opposite over hypotenuse. So we are going to write the sine of our angle, which is 35, equals, opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be y over 15. So we're going to do the same thing that we did up top to get our y alone. And now we'll do the sine of 35 times 15. So then we get 8.6. And same thing on 8. So we're going to label the three sides that we have. So 62, we have opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. We have so, ka, toa. So let's start with our x. So we have, x is given opposite and adjacent is what we're looking for. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. So we are going to do the tangent of angle 62 equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 9. Multiply both sides by 9. And then we are going to plug that into our calculator. So we have the tangent of 62 times 9. So we get 16.9 for our x. And we're going to do the same thing to solve for our y. Again, I suggest that you start with what's given to you. So in this case, we're starting with our adjacent, and this time our y is our hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So we're going to do the cosine of 62 equals, and then we have adjacent, which is 9, over hypotenuse, which is y. So this one is a little bit different. We have our variable in the bottom. If we multiply both sides, now we have y. To get y alone, we'll divide those. So now we're going to do, we'll do 9 divided by cosine of 62. And you should get 19.17, so we're going to round that one to 19.2. And that's all for today, guys.